All right, we'll take you to Kebbi State now here in Nigeria. The year 2020 was for the Kebbi State government a mixture of ups and downs as the state was ravaged with floods, even while the government embarked on a huge tourism drive. Joining us now to discuss the events of 2020 in Kebbi State is the governor of the state, Atiku Bagudu. Glad to have you join us, Governor Atiku Bagudu. Let's start with you telling us the secret of your success in rice production, particularly which stands at 3.56 million metric tons.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting me, and compliments of the season. And as you indicated, the 2020 is a very tough year for everyone. I think globally is a very tough year, and in 2020, an orderly and slow but steady quarterly growth since 2017 was once again interrupted in Nigeria by the coronavirus pandemic, and equally in Kebbi we had flooding which affected a lot, like in other states, the rice production. But earlier in the year, in February, March, we are upbeat that towards the end of last year in 2019, we planned for the reintroduction of the two festivals, two of our four major festivals, the Argungu Fishing Festival, which took place in March, and the Regatta Festival, which took place in February in Yauri, in the southern part of the state. And that is a contrast. We started the year on a very, very optimistic note that festival that did not take place 10 years ago, the Argungu Fishing Festival, we are confident enough to take it because of the security gains and because of the improvement in the economy. And the festival, the agricultural fair of the festival, which took place on the March the 12th, was attended by Mr. President, which is a celebration of all the gains in the agricultural sector, particularly rice. There were rice pyramids that were on display at the fishing, the fair, which was attended, like I said, by President Muhammadu Buhari and dignitaries across the country. But within a month thereafter, things turned haywire because of the challenge of the coronavirus pandemic, and then compounded by the flooding. But the agricultural revolution across the country, including Kebbi, is still well on its way, and we are counting on agriculture to help us lead us out of recession, because there's very robust growth in the agricultural sector despite the downturn in other sectors. And Kebbi State is doing well. We will be mobilized for the dry season farming, and just about 3 weeks ago, I was in Lagos, where I met with the Honorable Commissioner of Agriculture in Lagos State, where we discussed ensuring that rice is available in Lagos for the festive season. And it was, and the prices came down significantly from where they are. So we are very pleased with the trajectory of our agricultural growth. We still pray for more investment into the sector. We still hope that our economy will continue to respond to all the economic measures that are being put in place, and we pray that we will still continue to generate private sector investment going into agriculture like we have seen in the last few years.
Okay, well, thank you, Governor. My colleague asked for the secret of your success, and you speak of an agricultural revolution. I would also like to know the secret of your success when it comes to security, because as I found out, or I came across, out of the 4 states in the Northwest, Sokoto, Zamfara, Katsina, and of course yourselves, you seem to be the least affected by banditry. Could it be because of this agricultural revolution you speak of? What's the secret?
Well, I've spoken on this issue before that a problem elsewhere is a problem for everyone. It's a problem anywhere. It's a really sad narrative when you have to say, even when you are doing better, but it's not cause for celebration. If there's any problem, security problem anywhere in Nigeria, it's as good as having it in Kebbi and vice versa. So we are not really very happy to be saying that, even though our circumstances are certainly much better. And from our experience and from a lot of experience elsewhere in the world, inclusion is the main driver of peace and prosperity. Groups that are feeling angry, as much as we may also feel angry towards their conduct, but we have to focus on how is everyone included. Banditry and the related phenomena, kidnapping, which is purely a criminal enterprise, kidnapping, and banditry, which might have causes which originate from lack of inclusion or perception of such non-inclusion, can be dealt with by punishing criminality, but at the same time focusing on the bigger challenge of ensuring that all groups feel less angry, all groups feel included. There is conflict between occupations. The farmers, those pastoralists, the fishing communities, occasionally they come into conflict because we are all relying on a fixed resource, land mass, and to some extent water resources. And because of the pressure on all these resources by the different components of the agricultural sector, if it is not well managed, it can occasionally lead to conflict-causing behavior, which can express itself in very different forms and keep worsening, especially coupled with the existence of drug problem in some places, the availability of small arms that have been proliferating. So you have a conflict situation which exists with some attenuating circumstances like drugs and arms, and then unfortunately tragic consequences can result. But we in Kebbi appreciated that we should continue to push to ensure that all groups are included. There is a localized mechanisms for conflict resolution, because these are daily happenstance. The conflict for land, the conflict for land resources across the country, in all the states is a continuous thing. So states or communities that have evolved mechanisms to deal with them tend to contain whatever anger or whatever agitation more easily. But we also call that other states should focus increasingly on ensuring that while we are working hard to punish and fight criminality, and thank God our security agencies have been doing a good job at that, but we should also focus on the root causes, look at the land problems, look at the conflict resolution mechanisms, whether they exist at local levels.
Good, Governor. Yeah, talking about inclusiveness, talking about security. Let me ask you this. How has your agricultural transformation drive impacted youth restiveness in your state, which is adjudged to be the most peaceful in the northern political zone?
I think what the policy drive of the federal government has assisted us states to do, in addition to what you are doing locally, is to evolve opportunities for as many people as possible. So first, any state or community or governmental unit can do well by encouraging the residents to embrace such opportunities. Even when opportunities are made available and you don't embrace them, they come to naught. So what we have done in Kebbi is to appreciate that, consistent with our belief that Nigeria, we are living literally on acres of diamond, to borrow from a title of a book, everywhere in the country. So if we embrace the opportunities, we can unlock values and provide employment and income generation opportunities for our people and contribute to our national progress. And that's what we have seen in Kebbi. In the many young people in particular have taken up farming because financing is no longer a problem. The central bank has been generous in organizing the agricultural credit sector, that today nobody who is willing to put in his effort can say that financing is a problem. We are increasingly seeing technology improving. So young people who hitherto used to associate agriculture with drudgery now can do it in a more modernized, technologically driven manner, and they enjoy doing so, and they are rewarded by the income. We have seen many technology companies supporting agricultural space, both farming, animal husbandry, and increasingly fishing. We are seeing a lot of technology companies that are involved in marketing of agricultural produce. So in Kebbi, we, at various strata of society, community leaders, self-help organizations, commodity associations, produce associations, and local governments and the state ministries have pushed hard to ensure that these opportunities are presented to our young and growing populace, and they are increasingly embracing them. And the more they embrace them, the more we see peace, because everyone now is challenged to take up an occupation. I think it's very important what has happened in the last 5 years, that opportunities have been provided for those who are willing and able and are willing to put in their effort to prosper. And that is the evolution of a noble society.
Indeed, and we're actually happy to have you share some of these nuggets with us. However, how is the collaboration efforts going on between you and the other northern governors? I know there were calls for that. How are they receiving some of these things you do that you say have worked for you in Kebbi? How is it being responded to by other states, say like Katsina, who recently suffered the tragic event of 344 schoolboys being abducted?
I think a lot of states have been doing well across the country, and we have different platforms where we appreciate the policy direction that have been heavily put in place by the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration. And the National Economic Council has been a forum of exchange of ideas, assessment, and calibration of what we are all doing individually and collectively, so that we continue to do better. Various governors forums, like the Progressive Governors Forum, the Northern Governors Forum, regional northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, north central governors forum, they have all been doing one thing or the other to share experience, to motivate, to support each other. Overall, the Nigerian Governors Forum under Governor Kayode Fayemi has also held at the minimum one meeting a month where we share ideas. And in responding to the coronavirus pandemic, we have been receiving support from both the federal government and the World Bank, where again, and other development partners, where again we are designing programs that are complementary to what we are doing, what the federal government has been doing, and overall we have seen gains. The federal government support has been responsible for ensuring that many states are still being able to achieve basics minimum, and states are supported to share ideas, to support each other. So the agricultural revolution is catching on in almost every state. Even the states where 5 years ago economic activity has been significantly dented and by insecurity, we are seeing them doing better. Katsina, unfortunately, has been in the news recently, but again, there is a happy ending. And Katsina this year has a very strong crop production, maize, rice, and guinea corn. And I believe that they are also evolving as to how much more can be done to ensure that the trajectory is maintained.
Governor, it's quite interesting, I must say, that you are even importing, or rather, exporting to neighboring countries like, I have here, neighboring countries like Benin Republic. You're exporting to even Libya. I mean, that's quite wonderful. You're generating about 150 billion from the sale of paddy. What's your model, your template, and how can you sell this idea to other states, not just in the north, across the length and breadth of Nigeria, and the federal government?
I have said it on different occasions that locally rice is a Nigerian crop in the sense that rice grows in the 36 states of Nigeria and the FCT. And there's no state that cannot do much more than it is currently doing, including Kebbi. Countries with whom we are competing, countries that have done well, started early and started to support the production and processing. And we are getting there. What has been done in the last 5 years, we have seen such evolution of a support framework. The Nigerian people have embraced Nigerian rice, which is giving the needed support for the farmers, for those involved in processing, for those involved in distribution, and for those investing in the value chain. And these are all critical elements that are supporting the gains that have been achieved, because investors are being rewarded, the millers, the processors, the distributors are being rewarded. And the government policy has appreciated the need to continuously engage all of these value chain participants and support them so that the policy is calibrated continuously. There was there were two instances I remember where President Muhammad Buhari hosted at the presidential villa rice distributors from Daleko market, from Jikapa market, from Abakaliki market, and the rice farmers and the rice millers and policy participants, so as to assess, to appreciate, and so that we can do better. And we can see how, not because Mr. President likes it, but how his nationalism and the economic interests of Nigeria led him to approve the closure of borders, as painful as it is to both Nigeria and our neighbors, but in order to make the point that the federal government will not hesitate in taking any measure that will support the revampment of the Nigerian economy. So we have done well in the last few years. Nigeria is competitive with other countries in rice production. There's no country that can sell rice to us if we are comparing apple for apple. What has been happening was that countries that are stronger than us, countries that have started early, were selling subsidized rice to us, or rice that has been kept for many years in storage. And we are selling freshly produced rice. But we are wiser now, and with the support we are receiving with funding from the domestic economy, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the banking sector, and the capital market that is increasingly getting interested, we believe that we have what it takes to continue to dominate and indeed expand our sales outside the shores of Nigeria.
Okay, whilst it's good to celebrate the gains made in the agricultural sector, permit me to go back to the issue of security, because one without the other isn't sustainable. So let me talk again about what you said regarding inclusion and ask you, how do you practice inclusion in a situation where there is a kind of overlap? We saw in the situation in Katsina that the young boys who were said to have abducted the students, some of the abductors, were young boys maybe as young as 9 years old. So, you know, I struggle sometimes to see the distinction between insurgents, bandits, some of these terms that are bandied around, those who are Boko Haram, allies. And so where do you begin to practice inclusion in a situation like that?
Well, in every human society, there are people who run afoul of the law. And I've said repeatedly that let us be very clear about that and appreciate the need to confront criminality and punish it as such. But you may find that a lot of people can be drawn into an unfortunate situation because rightly or wrongly they feel aggrieved, they feel left out. And this has been a story that the world is very well aware about in different countries. And what I said is, while we are punishing criminality, while we are punishing criminals, which we must do, but at the same time, let us also appreciate that and focus as well on conflict-causing behavior. If, as a state governor, I'm aware that there are places where competition for water resources between farmers and fishing communities is taking place, I very well do something about it, because one day it can snowball into a bigger conflict. The same thing with conflict between pastoralists and fishing and farming communities. Sometimes we have invested in one to the detriment of the other. And the feeling of inclusion by all groups can help those groups to support peaceful evolution or peaceful conduct that will defeat and provide support to defeat and punish criminality and criminals.
All right, Governor, before we let you go, I gather you have a pact with an indigenous company for a $330 million ultra-modern world-class sugar processing plant. That's a huge one. Tell us about it. Is this still on course, on stream?
Oh, certainly. We have to, and to be fair to other investors, we have seen investors in different areas. That's one of a number of different areas. Many investors have done very well, have put tens of millions of dollars in rice processing. The indigenous company Labana, Wakot, Dangote Industries, Lolo Rice Mills, and a host of other smaller ones and new ones that are coming up by entrepreneurs in the state. At least there are four, five of such involving at the minimum $50 million per mill. that are coming up. And then secondly, we have a hedge fund that supported the development of a tomato processing facility, which is aiming to be the biggest in Africa, but they have started crushing and they are doing well. And then equally, we have a company that, like you said, that have secured land and they are going to start seedling development, seed distribution soon for sugar development. Developers, including a processing plant. We equally have a joint venture between NNPC and the state government where we are doing cassava and sugarcane-based ethanol program, which is now in its third way, and machineries are being procured for the ethanol plant. These are, we believe, private sector investors are seeing the wisdom of putting money into agriculture. And even with the challenges in the economy, private sector investors that have put their face in agriculture in the last few years, some of them have literally been printing money. You might have equally seen in the news Imota rice mill, which is going to be one of the biggest rice mills in sub-Saharan Africa. Again, is also a product of the relationship between Lagos and Kebbi State. So these are all worthy acknowledgements and this is a story in many states in terms of new plans in the agricultural sector that have come up because of the successes of the economic policies and support that have been put in place by President Muhammadu Buhari's government and embraced by different states and private investors.
All right, thank you so much, Governor Bagudu of Kebbi State, for your time here on Newsday.